people. We apologize for the delay in today's class, but yes, welcome. Today we are going straight into the introductory lesson on Figma, and we'll be starting from the screen, what the Figma screen is about. So yes, welcome to everybody once again, and today we'll be going straight into Figma. This is what everybody has been waiting for, and yes, I'm glad doing this. Yes, this is what I was waiting for. See, I'll be taking you to the Figma screen. Yes, if you have any questions, please shoot them at us in the comment section. We'll be glad to have it. If you can also hear us, please type in the comment section. Let's confirm that everything is going on fine from here. Let's be sure that everything is intact. So I want to say a very big welcome to you once again, and let's delve into today's matter. So yes, let me start by introducing you to the Figma screen. I can introduce you to the Figma home screen. So I'll just take you to the interface directly. My home screen is having some of the designs that, by reason of NDA, they are not meant to be displayed. So yes, let me just come here. This is when you click the plus screen. I think you can go ahead and show my screen now. Anybody around here, please, you can just shoot us a welcome. Let's know that people are here, and we have people with us here live. And yes, like I always do, it's good I quickly explain from the outset that we are aware of all the bugs. I think I said this in the last class. We are working on it. You have the assurance from us. That's strange. Yes. Yes, I slept well. Yes, I've been sleeping. Thank you. So yes, I think we can delve right into it straight, and yes, so this is how it is. Welcome to your screen. One of the things I want you to quickly realize is that Figma is not entirely different from every other design interface you have been working with, or that you may have been working with, or that you are used to, or that you may have been used to, or if this is your first interface, it's perfectly fine. So one of the things you must always know is that this is your tool panel up here. Up here is your tool panel. Most of the tools you are going to be working with is up here. Now, just like Photoshop, your tool panel is on your right, if I'm not wrong. Yes, Illustrator, your tool panel is on your right, but they are all adjustable. For this place, they are not adjustable. You can't snap them into place, so they are fixed. So this is your tool panel at the top. This is your layer panel and asset panel, and also page. You see layers here, you see asset here, you see page here. And so this page tells you that this entire screen is on page 1, and you can rename the page. I can come here and name it by double clicking or right click and then just rename whichever one you want. I can say this is welcome. This is your welcome page. If you want additional pages, you click on this and then you have another page, introduction, and then you can have as many as you want, but bear in mind that you can only have, I think, I'm certain, just 3 pages, as at this point, 2022, you can only have 3 pages on Figma on a free version. So yes, it is good that that is really, really established and understood. If you want more pages, you may have to go to a paid version. And please take note that this is your layer panel. It shows you the pages you're on. You're on welcome page. This is your layer panel. This is your asset panel. So these are your tools. These are generally the tools you'll be working with most times. Now on this side is your menu, contextual menu, and underneath it you have three primary aspects, which is design, prototype, and inspect. So this is design, this is prototype, this is inspect. So design is primarily for you as a designer. Prototype also is for you, but for you and your shareholders. This is where your shareholders and developers intersect, or your clients. Your shareholder, your client, this is where you all intersect here. So that was what happens here. And then you have inspect, this is primarily for a developer. Inspect, prototype, this intersects everybody. Shareholders, clients, stakeholders, and the designer. While this is primarily for you. So this is primarily for you, this is primarily for the developer. You have these two aspects. This is where everybody intersects. Now, this is where you increase the zoom size, like how big or small your designs appear. This is where it is adjusted. This is more or less to present your prototype or to present your current design. Another thing you should take note of, this is where you share your design. So if you click on share, it shows you the number of persons that you can share it to. So it gives you an interface to enter emails of people you want to share it to. You can copy the link directly or just get the embed code. That's what this place is meant for. So while you are working, if you want someone to, possibly for accountability's sake, you want somebody to take a note of what is going on, you can literally share your screen. While you can decide whether the person can view or can edit. This is when you enter an email, you'll be able to adjust it there, whether the person can view or can edit. So yes, this is where you also name what you are working on. It's telling you where it is located in draft. So if I want to name it, I can just click on it directly, or yes, I think clicking on it directly is the thing. You just come and say introduction. This is intro. The name of this file is introduction to Figma. That is the name of this file. It is introduction to Figma, and it is located in your drafts. Located in your drafts. If you have a theme, which is something we'll still go further into, when you click on it, you'll be able to select the theme you want this to be dropped in. But it's located in your draft, meaning that you see it on your interface when you come in, on your welcome screen when you come in. So inside your Figma file, this Figma file called introduction to Figma, you have how many pages? 2 pages. You can have maximum of 3 pages. Let's call this practice. You can have maximum of 3 pages here. That's something you should always take note of. And you can always delete. You can copy this specific page link. You can delete the page, or you can rename the page. You can also duplicate the page. But if I try duplicating because I've exited, oh sorry. Oh, I think I'm on my paid. How many pages can you have? Oh, sorry. Am I? Oh, I think that you can have more pages, I guess. But I think it's sharing it that presents a limit that you'll not be able to go beyond 3, I guess. Once you share the page, you'll not be able to go beyond 3. Let me just delete this. This might not be needful. So sharing your page, you might not be able to go beyond 3. Once you share your page, once the page is out. But if it's something internally, I never even knew you could go beyond 3 because I've never gone beyond 3 most times. It is for, I've been running on, I have a paid other version that gives me full access. I've never really used this for large projects. So yes, then you have your assets. This is where you find everything you have created, components and everything lumped in your library. We'll come back to all of that. So let me go one after the other. This is where you take your file, your new design file, new FigJam file, and you can also save a local copy. But let me just quickly run through all of this quickly. This is where you come and edit more or less the regular features. This is where you view. You can should you want to see your pixel grid or take it out, layout grid or take it out. If you want to see your rulers, you can check it here. If you want to see outlines, pixel preview, and every other activities can be found here. If you want to have okay, let me come back and do the design so I can show you how some of these things work. Your plugins, you'll find them here. You can always add additional plugins as you need. Integration can be done to Dribble. Your preference can always be adjusted here, and then you can always find libraries here too. Your help and account, you can always find it here too, especially if you need your keyboard shortcuts. I think it's also located here. Yeah, I know I've seen it here before. You also have keyboard shortcut here. So yes, let's move on quickly. So this is your paste board, but we need a frame to design. A frame here is equivalent to an artboard in CC Suits. CC Suits is what you call them. You call them artboards there, but here they're usually called frame. So yes, let's start with your frame. This is a frame. Now, I call this contextual menus, meaning that because there's nothing going on the screen yet, everything here is what? It's quite basic, telling that your background, the only background they're adjusting is literally the background of your Figma file. So you can do this as you so wish. for higher contrast, and then you can close the visibility, take off the visibility of your background, or reduce the opacity possibly to 10 or 100. So yes, let's leave it at 100. So let's start with frame. This is your frame. Oh, can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly, please? Can you hear me clearly? So can you all hear me clearly, please? I want to be sure that you can all hear me clearly. Okay, since I confirmed that you can hear me clearly, let me move on. So yes, when you click on your frame, it gives you preset frame. Preset frames here are iPhone 13 Pro Max, iPhone 13, and then you have it for phones. You also have it for tablets. You also have for desktop. You have for presentation. You have for watch. You have for paper. You have for social media. You have for Figma community, and then you have archived, the ones that they have archived. You literally have all the options that you need. So another thing I want you to know is that, except if you want to, when you click on frame, you can literally, if you see this plus sign, you can literally just draw your frame straight. You can hold down shift if you want it to, the dimensions to be the same, or the ratio to be the same. Or if you so desire, you can just click on frame again, and then come and select from the options available. So we can just deal with a phone. Let's say iPhone X, and this is it. So yeah, we have a frame. This is a frame that, and all frames are adjustable, by the way. Yes, there are some things you should quickly take note of. Look at this frame. That's a frame. Now look at, this is a rectangle, and this is a frame. Let me just give it the same color. Let me adjust this accordingly. So yes, one of the things you'll notice is that I call this place contextual menu. Contextual menu telling you that based on what you are working on, that's the kind of options you see available to you based on what you are working on. So because I'm working, this is a frame. If you remember, we call this, this is a rectangle rather, this is a frame. So let me just put it, now let me put it at the top. Let me say, sorry, I used a shortcut there. Let me go back. So this is all most of the objects you'll be working with. And then this is your pen and your pencil section. This is your text section. So let me click on your text option rather, and I say this is, I'm actually underneath, this is a rectangle. Now, if you check closely, let me just put that here. This is a rectangle. This is a frame. Now, everything you are putting on this artboard, on this pasteboard rather, everything you're putting on your pasteboard, everything here on your screen, both your frame, your rectangle, another frame, text, everything is represented in form of a layer here, and they are nested in the sense that this, they are all inside here. That's why you can see that this is collapsible. If I collapse this, it tells me that if I close this, if I close the visibility, it tells me that it is hiding everything that is contained within that frame. And the frame is iPhone X or iPhone Pro or iPhone 11, whichever one you like to call it. That there are things inside this frame. Now that's why it can be closed now or collapsed. If you check this frame, this is everything here. There's nothing inside it. That's why you don't have chevrons beside it. Chevrons are this small directional arrow. Small directional arrow here. That's what they are. So another thing I want you to take note of while I move on is this part has text, shape. So let me show you other shapes here. So you have your line, you have your ellipse, you have your polygon, you have your star, And yes, you have your paste image. I'm coming to that. I'll come back to that. Let me just move carefully now. Now look at all of the shapes that you have here. Let's arrange it accordingly. Okay, yeah, so we have all of this. Let me just take it up. Let me take these two out. We don't need that now. So look at all of this here. Look at all of this here. And one of the things I want you to quickly take note of is how can you tell the difference apart? One of the ways you can tell the difference on what you are working on, which is very, very important, is when you click on the object, you get to know the context. The contextual menu is literally not the same for everything. The contextual menu gives an idea of what you are dealing with. And this is where it becomes a bit more critical. Now, let me explain. If I click on this, this is how you get to know what I'm working on. I'm working with a what? I'm working with a rectangle. Even from the layer palette, you can know. But when you see the contextual menu, this is all you can do. So what can I do to the rectangle? This is the fill section. I can change the color of the rectangle. And what kind of color can I change? I can change it from solid, which is this. And then you can also change the color on this color spectrum to select the kind of tint or shade that you want for that particular color. I can change it to linear. Can you see this? And when I click on this, I can select the kind of color I want to complement it with. I think I like this. No, this is good. And here, possibly this. So I can do this. And then when I do this, I can adjust it accordingly. And while I'm adjusting it, another thing I can do is for each of the color, I can increase the opacity or decrease the opacity for each of the color. And I can add additional grid point, so if I don't need all of this additional, what's it called? Additional gradients, additional color on the gradient line, I literally can just delete it. So I can come here and just delete this. I don't need it. Come here and just click delete on your keyboard and take it out. So you cannot just add color, you can add gradients to it. What else can I do to it? I can make it what kind of gradient. I can make it radial. And yeah, so you can do this actually if you so desire. Click on this and then change the color if you so wish. And then come here, change this color and ensure that the opacity is thick like that. And maybe this will suffice. Drag it all up a bit. Yeah, so you can actually do this. You can move from that to angular, the kind of gradients you can give to it, and then you can move to diamond as you so wish, whichever you want to use it. And then another thing you can do is you can use it as an image holder. So if I can just drag it up and click on this and possibly come here and say image, I can now select the image I want to put inside it. Can we pause the screen? Thank you. I should have checked something very quickly. Yes, I'm supposed to show something else before going into my folder. So just give me a minute, please. I didn't come with my hard disk. I don't think my hard disk is here. I should have checked my hard disk before bringing it in. Let me try and do that very quickly. My hard disk is not here, is it? Almost downloads. It's on the flash drive, and the flash drive is not. Okay, so let me just stick with this. Okay, yeah, I think we can come back up. Bring it back up. Let me just use what I have here. The sound. People are complaining about the sound, I guess. I think something is going on with the sound. Is the sound better now? Okay. They are currently working on the sound. Really apologize. Sorry for the drag. We are working on the sound. And we are hoping that it will be corrected. Really do apologize. Someone is working on it. So yes, if you check closely, this also works for. This also works for this works for image placeholder. So that's what we just did. And once you do that, you can come and say fill. You can change to fit. That's when you say you actually align the image the way it came. You are retaining the image dimension, not to just fit into the box coming into the bounding box. Another thing you have is crop, which means that you can take out a particular side of the image and adjust it accordingly that you just want to appear. Another thing you have here is tile, meaning that the image can be big if you so want it to be, of course, which I don't want. Is it still echoing? Oh, we apologize. Okay, so let's move on, please. So another thing we can. So I would rather stick with fill. So it depends on what you are trying to achieve. That's when you apply it. So let me just come here. Another thing you can do now is, so you have seen how images can be applied here. Another thing you can do to your shape, which is here. Let me just take this out. And let me say solid. One of the things you can do to your shape is, when you click on it, look at this. When you click on it, look at this dot here. They are called your radius, but they are the same thing here. I'm coming back to explain everything here. When you click on it, you literally can. This is freestyling anyway. You are freestyling because you are just manually doing this. You can reduce the edge, how edgy your boxes are, by adjusting the corner radius. Another thing you can do is just come here and click a particular number if you so wish. You can say 30 and boom, it reduces. You can come here and say 10 and then this is a square cone, and then you can keep going higher or lower as you so wish. The same thing applies, though you have inserted an image here. Once you click on it, you can still reduce the edges. You can say 30, and then you have like a profile picture image here, or you can say 20 or 10 or 5 as you so wish. The same thing applies. So while there's an image here, everything that applies to this, including stroke, giving it a stroke and giving it a particular color, or giving the stroke a particular appearance, and then increasing the stroke width. That's what this is for. Let's say 3, and deciding where the stroke sits, whether inside, center, or outside. Everything is applicable here. The same thing can be done. You can come here and give it a stroke and say the stroke should be any color you so desire, maybe a lighter color of blue, and then maybe this time 5, the stroke width, and then decide whether it's outside, center, or inside. I think I like outside. So it depends on what you are trying to achieve. You can always do that. So the same, if you check, look how the characteristics that come with this. Look how the menus that are here. The same thing applies to this. You see that nothing is changing. The only thing that is changing is the fill. So I could literally reduce this opacity here to possibly 20, and then it is reduced. The same thing applies here. I can reduce it to 10. It is reduced. Can you see that? Another thing you can do to your image is when you click on it, you can adjust it. This is your adjustment part. If you want it black and white, you can just bring down the saturation, and then you have it in black and white. So I'm sure that you can always explore further with everything here and see what it can do for you rather. So yeah, when we do this, let me increase this back to 100%. Now let me show you about everything here. This is your width and your height. This is logged, meaning that if I adjust this to 64, automatically this also is adjusted to 64 because your width and height is logged. It's a constraint proportion here has been checked. So it's linked together. But if I unlink it and I say, possibly this should be half of this, possibly 32, you see it goes halfway. So it's good that that is done because it is unlinked. If I come here again and possibly unlink it and I say the height should be 32, you have this, or this, and then I say this should be, width should be 32, you have this. But so because they are not linked, if they were linked, for example, let me take this out and I link it. If I link this together and I say this is 32, it applies to everything. Everything then is 32. So please take note of that. And I've explained this. This is for movement on your board. If you say 270, see what happens. You see it moves. So instead of moving it with your mouse, as you are moving it on the x-axis, this is adjusting. Now, if I move it up or down alone, let me just move with my directional key. You see this here is adjusting, but if I move it left and right, x-axis, this is adjusting. So you remember your x-axis and your y-axis. This is your x-axis, like graph. This is your x-axis. Everything on your moving from left to right is on your x-axis. Everything moving from top to bottom is on your y-axis. So anything moving from top to bottom is on your y-axis. So that's what this is saying. If I move things top, bottom, you see y-axis is changing. If I move things left, right, x-axis is changing. So that's what this place is about. Movement on x and y-axis. You will come to understand how important this is, especially when you are trying to make things sit inside these grid lines. You realize how important it is. So yes, let's move on. Another thing I want you to take note of is here. For every of your rectangle here, there are constraints. Okay, we'll come back to all of this because I'll actually have to do proper design. When I'm doing a proper design, I'll explain everything here. But so let me move on to this. This place is actually for everything you are looking at here. When you click on this place, it's actually to help you create a style or to help you access saved style. For example, if you are going to be using this regularly, you can just come here and click on create and then create a new style of your choice. But I don't want to go into all of that here. Let me just do the basic and then we'll move on. So from here, we'll move on to you have seen the stroke and how it works. This is effect. So let me take this out. Let me just say, let me just quickly use that to explain this. Let me change this color to white. Let me remove the stroke. So when I click on this, if you come on to this effect and you click on this, okay, there's no existing effect. So let me click on this and then I'll say drop shadow. So when you click on this section here, you can determine the elevation, the direction, the blow, and the spread. So possibly let me say 10. That's good. Did I just say, sorry, 10, 0 there. 10. And then this is too sharp. That color is too sharp. The blow can be 40. That color is too sharp. So let's say 10. So this is soft. This is very, very soft. I don't know if you can see clearly from your hand. This is soft. It gives you a very soft elevation. Soft elevation has been done. If you want it looking more compact, you can reduce your blur to possibly 30. So when you do that, it's looking, it's not looking very smooth. You are reducing how smooth it looks. It depends on what you are trying to achieve. There's no one size fits all. Another thing you can do to this is, well, I'm trying to cover a lot, Priska. I really do apologize. I'll slow down now. Another thing you can do to this is when you click on it, your background, like I'm trying not to run too far ahead, so I'll just slow down. When you click on it, this, you can actually attend to the color here. When you see things appearing like this, split with a bit of a transparent background and a color, it's telling that you're dealing with opacity. So if this is 100%, you see that it becomes full, meaning that there's no opacity. This looks ugly, very, very ugly. It looks like a black stain. So you reduce this back to 10. That's always a good number for. Now, another thing you can do is your background doesn't have, your drop shadow doesn't have to be black. Depends on how proficient you are. You can actually change the color if you so wish to carry on the color of your brand. So you can reduce the opacity to let's say 12% is a good color. So you see that there's a good number. You see that it's softer now, but it's blue. So yes, it depends on what you are trying to achieve. I keep saying this. It depends on what you are trying to achieve. This is softer. You can also reduce your elevation if you so wish. It depends. It always depends on what you are trying to achieve. This is showing a lesser elevation. This is showing a higher elevation, and let's say this is no, this 40 is a lot. Let's say 20. Yeah, this is showing a higher elevation, and then another thing you can show is the higher the elevation goes, the more the blur. So this goes higher than this does. So it depends on what you are trying to achieve or what you are trying to say. It's just good that we take note of that. So another thing I want you to take note of, if you remember, I keep hammering that this is a contextual menu. The options you are seeing here, these are basic options you always find. They are literally based on what you are dealing with. So another thing you may want to achieve, which is a matter of style, is here. for this, if you notice we have been dealing with rectangles, you might not want all the okay, I'll slow down. You might not want all the edges of a rectangle to have radius. So that is where this comes in. Because if I adjust this, it applies universally on all edges. So if I apply this, this is easier on the eye, but it's starting to look managerial. If I apply it again to reduce it, now this is starting to look managerial because of the edges. So this looks, the more rounded it is, the more playful it appears. Let me say 20. Yeah, so this is good. Yes. Yes, let me move on. So now that we have done this, another thing I want to take note of is that if I don't want, okay, let me use this. So this is clearer. Let me take this out. If I don't want this to have a uniform roundedness, what I click on is here, independent corner. So when I click on it, I can select. It is going in a clockwise direction, starting from your top left and round. It is always moving in a clockwise direction. It is always moving in a clockwise direction. So always remember it is, and it's always starting from your top left in a clockwise direction. So it's moving like this. So you always say, so if I say 20, 20, see the quick object I've just done just by doing that, and then I can come in again and say 20, and boom, you have this. Just from understanding this basic, there's nothing you can do in Figma. Yes, so yes, you have this, and if I so wish, I can just, oh sorry, because I'm dealing with, okay, this is a frame, so I'm safe. Let me just take this, draw a circle, lump it in, make it white. This should be smaller, I guess, really small, not too big. So yes, and is this looking familiar? Yes, it is looking familiar. So yes, you could literally do and undo. That's why I say that sometimes it's easier to design icons here, but let's not go in this direction yet. I'm still moving on with the basics. So yes, that is what this will do to you. And if you want it all cleared back, just click on this and then tell it you want just 10, a particular number to apply to all. And this is it. So let me move on. There's an auto layout here. That's strange. Let me move on quickly. Another thing I want you to take note of is very quickly. I've showed you the effect, but I've only showed you for this. When you click on this, and I've only showed you drop shadow. Another kind of effect you can have is inner shadow. Can you see this? Or can you see this? And then you can adjust it accordingly with these settings too. You can reduce this to like 10. So it can be softer, and then increase the blur to like 10 or so. So it is unassuming, and then you can have this, you can increase this to 10 or so. And yes, you are trying to show that something is indented, or maybe an input field or something. A bit of this is always encouraged. So yes, in your effect, I would like you to explore with the rest. You have background blur, layer blur, drop shadow, inner shadow. I don't want to take too much time on this. So yes, this is good. So now, another thing I want you to take note of while we continue is when you click on this, you have seen that you can have stroke, you can have effect, or you can take away the effect if you so desire. And then you can see everything going on. You can export this particular thing here. You can export it in different file formats, PDF, SVG, JPG, PNG, and then in different sizes. You can have it exported in 4 times the actual size, or in half of the actual size. It depends on what you are trying to achieve. So which is fine. Now let me move on and no. So this is I'm still coming back to explain all of this. So this is everything you have seen here, because you are dealing with. Oh, sorry. Everything you are seeing here is because you are dealing with. Sorry, I'm looking for an ellipse to like a shape, because you are dealing with a shape. Now, when I click on this, let me just draw a shape so you can see what I'm trying to say. R, a shortcut for rectangle. This is a circle or ellipsis, and this is a rectangle. You see that the contextual menu for both are the same. The only difference is that this is now having radius to make the corner rounded, because it's already rounded by default. So the contextual menu you are looking at are the same here. But look at this. This is a frame. Although it is looking just by looking at it, you think you are looking at a rectangle, but you're actually looking at a frame. And this is how you get to know. A frame has this option where you can snap things to resize it. And then it has this option where you can switch from landscape. For example, if this is landscape, once I switch, it switches for me. Can you see that now? If I do that here, you see there's no option here for this. This is a rectangle. Because this is a frame, it gives you that option to actually switch easily. Now, on your frame, you can actually move from frame to group, or to decide the kind of frame you actually want to work with straight. So if let me just duplicate this out, give it the same color, and then move from this frame and say, okay, I want it to be iPad Pro 11. See, it just suddenly grows into that particular size. So yes, you know the kind of shape object you are dealing with just by looking at the contextual menu. Once you are dealing with a frame, you literally see here all the time that you are dealing with a frame, because the name here will show you frame. If the frame has object inside it, it can always make you change it back to a group. I'll come back to that. So this is a frame, and what are the things that are uniquely applicable to a frame? These features, not just these features. If you click on this, you don't find auto layout, but here you find auto layout listed. Here, if you click on this, you don't find your layout grid. Can you find it? No. But when you click on this, you have your layout grid. So one of the things you should always take note of is a frame has more functionality, it is more powerful, and you are strongly encouraged to always use a frame over a rectangle. A frame over a rectangle, especially when you are going to be slapping things inside it. A frame over a rectangle. If you don't take anything away from this class, even if you are just a beginner, everything your rectangle can do, your frame can do it and more. So if you check all of the features and menu applicable to a rectangle, you have it in a frame and more. So frame over rectangles. I will still come and explain the use cases for rectangles specifically, but let's move on. So now that I've explained that, let me move on. So I've explained a frame, a rectangle, or another shapes. Let me just say another shapes. Now let me move on to other unique shapes that we have. Look at this star here. If you check, the star too has every other thing a regular, let me draw a rectangle back, has. But what makes it different now is that if you check, there's this additional option here. You can, if you check here, you can actually do corner smoothing here if you so desire. This is new, you don't have that here. But when you click on it, if you check, another thing you can do is increase the number of the pointed part of a star, and then increase how much it is indented. You can actually increase it to do this, or decrease it if you so wish. If you so wish. So you can do this or do this, and then you can increase the number of sides it can have. You can do this. So I can do this literally, remove the fill, add stroke, and then while I do this, I'm already designing a badge. Draw your ellipse on it. And make it a stroke tool. Remove the fill. Ensure this is your alignment tools. Of course, you play around this to know how much you can work. This is your alignment tools, and then you can say 100%. You can just drop it here and you type guarantee. So I'm just letting you know 100% assurance, 100% proven, whichever one you like. I will come back and explain this very shortly, so you can see how text work. Oh, sorry, let me just reduce this here, or use K. Did I? So yes, I can use K to reduce it further. Did I just say K? Sorry. Resizing tool. Sorry, the shortcut is K. My resizing tool. Enter can be, let's say, bold. This can be really, really bold. Extra bold a bit, and then this also should be really bold. Black. Resize it to scale it down. Let me use actual. I don't usually encourage it, so let me just use actual number too. Let me not break one of the rules I've made. Actual numbers, please. Try not to resize with decimal points. Actual numbers, please. Actual numbers. It's usually off. Looking at resizing done. So yes, see how simple this has been done now. What do I want to do? I can increase this. Increase this also. Okay, this is fine. Another thing I can do is the corner radius can be adjusted, and I can say 10 if I don't want it to look sharp. It's too much. Let me say 3. Okay, this is better. So I just designed a badge. Yes, I single-handedly, of my own accord, designed a badge without any interference, without any support, without any direction. I just designed a badge by myself. Oh, sorry for that. Yes, so this is what this is. Let me ensure they are the same thing I'm looking at. So this will, let's say 2. Yes, we just did that. So I'm just letting you know how you can actually go from thick to thin if you so desire, and when you right click on it, you can group it together, group selection. So yes, I can select, come to this group here and rename it. I can say a thinner version, thinner, and this is, I will just highlight everything, and then once I highlight it, I can Command G or right click and group, but it's now on group. I can say thicker. How many minutes more do I have? So when I come to the thinner version, I can just select everything I need here, and then in this place, I'll just make the stroke 0.7. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So this is it, 0.7, and then you can have a thicker version. So it depends on what you're trying to have. At the end of the day, when you're doing design, it's always a matter of what are you trying to achieve. So let me come back and select the star. I can also make it filled. I can say green, and select the kind of green I want to use, and the stroke can be a lighter version of the green. No, let me do it the other way around. The stroke should actually be thicker, and then the fill should be lighter. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. This is good. Okay, so what's the stroke? Copy it, paste it, and you're good to go. And yes, you could just come here again and let me select the exact star. Come here, make it very light. Yes, and then select your 100% proving. One of the beautiful things Figma does is that Figma preserves. Figma tries to pick all the colors on your artboard, so you would always find all the colors you have been using thus far. You always find them here. We could literally go just a bit, not too, just a bit, very subtle. This is good, and yes, like what we did before, you can just come here and do this. If you really want to make it white, which is fine. I've not started designing yet on Figma, by the way. This is still just we are still just exploring. If you want to, from everything I've said, you can come here and make it white. Yes, when you make it white, one of the things I will encourage you to do is when you make it white, come to your effect, here, and just, you can add a drop shadow to it if you so desire. If you do that, then this is good. Another thing, like I said earlier, when you add your drop shadow, you can increase your opacity or decrease it. So let me go with 10. I like it soft. I don't like things looking hard. Another thing I can do, from everything I've been saying thus far, is select your, and then tell you don't want drop shadow, you want inner shadow. Can you see that it comes inward now? Inward. So, and yeah, you can do this. I could keep showing you, but today we are not talking about effects in Illustrator, in Figma. Sorry. So let me quickly move away from here and go on to other things. So yeah, when you click on here, the shapes also, the particular kind of shape shows the particular kind of content or the contextual menu what will appear there. So yes, please, I want to encourage you to go and explore that further and see what it can do for you. Literally what it can do for you before we actually go deep. Yes, and a lot of things you are seeing here are going to be further explained when we literally start design. Another thing I want to quickly talk about is text. When we say learning. So if you check closely, we have explained your frame. We have explained shapes, including image. Now, I've left this alone. I'm coming back to this. Or maybe I should do this. Let me just quickly explain. Your pen. Your pen, if you are familiar with Illustrator, even if you are not, just move with me. It shows you Bezier curve, which you can use to design free-handedly. So there's a website where you can actually learn how to become proficient with Bezier curve. I think I'll drop it in the comment section or in the Discord, so you can follow from there. You can literally follow from there if you so desire. So yes, this is your Bezier curve, and there's so much you can do with it. There's so much you can do with it if you want to, if you are willing to, and you can actually explore with it. You can do and undo with it if you so desire. Yes, so this is it. That's what this is for. This is your pen, and there's so much it has to offer you, so much. So yes, you have that, and you literally can go from, you can do anything you want to do with this, literally anything you want to do with this. If you remember vividly, let me just do this straight. So let's come here and say this should be like 30 or 100, the highest. This also should be 100, the highest. And I could just literally do this here. Command C, Command V, and flip horizontal. Reduce this, bring it here. This should be linear. Should I say linear, radial? Oh, not the stroke, sorry, the fill. Radial, and yeah. I think it's meant to be the other way around. Yes, yes, it's meant to be like this. Showing light coming from this angle, and well, this is not this this is not more or less like a lifelike representation, but this is not this is not an illustration class anyway. So yes, there's so much you can do with it. If there's so much you can do with anything once you understand them, once you understand lighting and how to do these things. So there's literally nothing here you can't do. I don't know what fruit comes to mind looking at this. I'll leave you with that to decide. I hope nobody will say mango, sha. That's where we'll fight. Okay, so yes, you can do and undo with this if you so wish. And let me just drop this by the side. Yeah, you can do and undo with it. Now let's move on. Another thing, so you have understood how this works. This is your pen tool. This is very, yes, this is very, very free-handed. You can draw with this. You literally can draw with this. Please, what shape is this? I don't know. What is this? What is this? This looks like what? Yes, that's an apple. Yeah, so, yeah, thank you so much. That's an apple. So you see how your pen tool works? This is how it works. For everything I'm telling you, there are advanced features of how it can work, which I want you to take cognizance of, which I want you to take note of. So this is your pen tool, and this is how it works. You literally are drawing with it. It's very free-handed. Why the other, this is your pencil rather, why the other pen tool is more or less for Bezier curves, and which I really encourage you to now to use before you take the class, before you move on, before we move on in class. So yes, this is very free-handed and gives you a lot of flexibility. It allows you, it allows your imagination to come into play, and that's one beautiful thing about the pen tool. The pen tool allows you, the pencil tool, I keep saying pen, sorry, the pencil tool allows you to be very free with your imaginations, with what you are trying to achieve, and you would always find that here. So I'm encouraging you closely that there's so much more you can do just by exploring the tools. So I encourage you to explore the tools, especially if you are just starting out. I strongly encourage you to explore the tools and see what they can do for you. That's quite important, especially if you are literally just starting out. I'm talking to those who are starting out, please. There are people here already very used to this. So you literally can do and undo with this. It gives you an opportunity to be free with your imagination, to allow your imagination run freely, and in allowing your imagination run freely, there are no constraints. You can achieve anything you want to achieve just by looking at this, just by doing this. So I'm just saying that your pen tool affords you that opportunity to explore. I'm intentionally not adjusting the settings. I just want to really show you the possibilities with your pen tool. Did someone say cucumber? Yes, so yes, this affords you the opportunity to explore freely. So the pen tool serves its own use cases, which you find interesting. It depends on the kind of person that you are, and like I said, the kind of person you are determines how you use the tool actually. Also with the kind of background you have. It depends on the kind of background you have. That to a large extent determines how the tool is used. So yes, you can always use the pen tool, pencil tool. Why have I been saying pen? As you wish to achieve different purposes. So yes, you can always do and undo with it. I don't know what I'm drawing, but you get the general idea. Yes, so this is it. Someone said B. Yes, Benson. That's very accurate. Thank you. So yes, I think I just wanted to quickly show you that. And if you feel like it's too thick, you can always reduce your stroke here to 2 or 1. And there it is. It's easier on the eye. Did someone say fly? Did you say butterfly? Okay, fine. Whatever you like, you call it. I just hope nobody will tell me they're looking at cockroach. That's where we'll fight. So let's move on. So you have seen what this can help you achieve. This is more or less for Bezier curve. This is smoother, more structured. This is a bit more free-handed, depending on what you are trying to achieve. And so this is your text. This part is, I've been anticipating coming to this part. When you click on the text, you would say, together we grow. So yeah, let me quickly show you something here. When you say together we grow, your contextual menu changes automatically. You still have your directional menu. This is to help you move in any direction you want to move. And in any way you want to move. Another thing you have here is you can change your text. It could be bold, depending on the variation that comes with your font. Intro, bold. So yeah, you can actually move in any direction you want. Now look at this. This is, I want to go back to Inter. This is your, now let me quickly run. When I click and drag on my text, I'm literally creating a text box. Welcome everyone. To learning how to use Figma. We are glad to have you. We are glad to have you. So yeah, this is okay. Yeah, I'll be rounding off now, so the next person can come. This is your text. Now this text, this is where you come and adjust the line height or the leading. So if I come here and say 10 times 1 point, oh thank you, 5. You see it increases the width, and then you can, the height rather, and then you can change it from bold to semi-bold to medium to regular to light or extra light, whatever you want to achieve. So this is where you adjust your line height. This is where you adjust your letter spacing uniformly. If you remember vividly, you can. If you remember vividly in your foundation class, this is where it is done. Which we literally encourage you not to tamper with. You don't need to, except if you are trying to achieve an artistic purpose. You can increase the font size here. I strongly discourage. Don't use K. Don't use this or K. Your scale tool or the size tool. This is your scale tool. don't use it. Don't use this because you get decimal points. It might not be really good for a developer. Use this, and then if you want to increase the size, use specific numbers. Type specific numbers here. Another thing you can always do is, depending on what you are trying to achieve, you can change your alignment. Text align right or center, or this is left rather, center or right. So for example, if I were to do something very quickly, possibly woo a girl with a poem, I might just, because I want to write a poem, one thing I might quickly do is I have seen flowers. I've seen colors. Okay, my poetic mind is running. Let me say colors of yellow and blue. I have seen them sparkling. It's true, but none is as beautiful as you. Okay. So now see what has happened here. I'm writing a poem. I said colors of yellow and blue. I've seen them sparkling is true, but none is as beautiful as you. Oh, I wrote 9 here. So yes, this is to my babe, not to anybody here. Colors of yellow and blue, I've seen them sparkling is true. What did I write here? But none is as beautiful as you. So yeah, what goes on here, you see something has gone wrong with the bounding box around your text. So one of the ways you adjust it is to tell it to auto-width. I'm bringing you a bit lower here. Auto-width. So when I do this, you see it adjust accordingly. That's what this is doing. Who said, ha, internet people. You people are distracted. Let's concentrate, please. So yes, one of the things you can do is you see this is auto-width. So if I do this now, you see it adjusts accordingly without leaving the bounding box, because now it has moved to paragraph. But once I do this, it automatically adjusts the width back. But if I want it to be in a paragraph structure, I can just resize this manually. In doing this, it's telling you that it is auto height. And then if I want it on a fixed size without moving beyond this box, I'll do this. What this means now is that if I want to, okay, what this means now, let me just go back. See what has gone on here. It helps me adjust it. So if I move back to my paragraph styling, you see it changes accordingly. The advantage this has is that by the time I want to continue the poem, okay, let me remove this. If I want to move on with this poem, for example, I want to increase the line. Let me come back and adjust this. And say maybe another second portion of the poem. If I want to say something, with you, time flew. With you, everything is new. If I say flowers bloom, okay, maybe I should reduce the love poem. Before people think that I'm distracted, okay. Flowers bloom and blossom. Everything with you is awesome. Let me stop here. So yeah, you see what happened here? What has gone on here is that the text bounding box adjusts according with the size. As my paragraph grows, the text adjusts, the bounding box rather adjusts. Do you get it? So if I come back here and just take this away, you see it adjusts dynamically to wherever is the last place. Do you get it? Let me now do that back. Now if I take this out and say Command X, I take it out, and then let me take this out. See what happens now. If I say this should be fixed, if it's fixed and I come here and add more lines, you see that bounding box did not grow. That bounding box did not grow with it. So you see where the issue is. The bounding box did not grow with it. So you should know. I'd like you to interact more with this so you get to know how it works. I would strongly encourage that you stick with this, except there are use cases for this where you will find its use, and this class is not entirely exhaustive. So yes, that's it about text alignment. And then when you click on this place, you have more options to experience. You see our alignment for text. You have your decoration. It can be underlined. It can be struck through. If you strike it through, if you want it struck out. Then your paragraph spacing can be adjusted here. Paragraph indenting can be adjusted here. Indenting is, let's say 20. It gives it an indent from your original place. So another thing you can do is you can give it lists. You can make lists from here and all, and then you can remove the list if you are not doing it. If you want it all caps lock, do this. So you have sentence casing. You have all caps lock here. You have small casings. You have your sentence casing, depending on what you want to achieve, or clear it. And then you can actually go further. I'd like you to actually come down and explore all of this from your own end. And yes, you can actually change the color of your text, and also give it stroke. I don't think this is not corridor. Please, nobody should give their color stroke. Apology to anybody using corridor. Don't give your text stroke, please. You can also give it effects and all, but please, of course, you shouldn't. I don't expect you to use this except sparingly, or except in its actual use cases, which is actually when we start to design. So this is more or less an introductory class. I've spent time explaining the contextual menu you'll be needing to work with most times, and explaining everything going on here. This is inside the frame. That's why it's inside this frame. That's why you can see this. If I close this, everything disappears. Oh, that's for this frame. If I click on this frame, if I come down and I close it, everything disappears. So everything is inside the frame. Frame can carry things. Rectangles can't carry things. Things can't sit inside the rectangle. Things can sit inside the frame. So those are one of the differences you should take note of. Possibly when design class starts fully, we will go further in explaining what all of these things will do to you. The Boolean operations available, masking, and then making components. And then we'll be going further to prototyping and assets, and possibly plugins you are going to be working with. So yes, this is sufficient an introductory class for anybody into Figma. Another thing I know I didn't mention, let me just quickly mention it. Let me quickly draw a frame. Is layout, layout grid. So this is it. When you click on it, you can actually decide the kind of layout grid you want to use, depending on what you are trying to achieve, which is good for icons, for UI design, and even for regular illustrations. So this is where I'll be stopping. I would hand it over to the next person who's meant to take a class from here. And I'm hoping you will explore more and also watch other videos, not just necessarily ours, that would explain further everything about Figma to you. You are going to be hearing those who are going to be teaching you. So I encourage you not just to stick with our videos, but go further and see what other videos can do for you, so you consolidate knowledge as soon as possible. It becomes easier for the person who is coming here to take the Figma file. So the next thing you are doing is Photoshop. So yes, I want you to stay put. Your Photoshop teacher is going to be coming on board shortly, while he's going to be going deeper now to explain Photoshop to you. Photoshop is wide. I want to just say as a form of caveat that I might not be able to explain everything fully. When I mean explain everything, I might not be able to exhaust everything on your Photoshop, but at least it's going to give you all the basic tools you need to do good design. So thank you very much. As I take a bow. Yes, and Figma is not about writing love poems. Someone has been asking. The only thing you do on Figma is not to write love poem. You do important designs on Figma. Yes, thank you.
glad to have you again today. I'm Oluwatobi once again too. Briefly, we were able to touch Photoshop shortly yesterday, even though the time is quite limited. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, please, I would love you to drop comments on the to drop things on the comment section. I want to know how the audio is now. It was kind of low in the first class, too. Thank you. So shortly we'll be touching Photoshop again today. So yesterday we were able to touch on okay. So yesterday we were able to touch on how to work with text and shapes in Photoshop. So we talked about how to create text, do a bit of adjustments. Sorry, is my screen mirroring or is extended? Okay, thank you. So we did design with us. Okay, so we did design with us yesterday. Creating text, creating shapes, and all of that in Photoshop. So one thing I've discovered about all this tool is, to a reasonable extent, there's a way they interact. Yeah, thank you, it's fine. There's a way they interact, and the tools are almost similar. So having gone through the use of Illustrator, Figma, I think basically some of the basic tools will have been covered. So there will be no point going over them over again and doing it all over again. So basically I will just go over some tools that are kind of specific to Photoshop alone. So while we continue, then we talked about design with us. Then yesterday I mentioned the transform tool. Like if you want to transform anything, that is either you go to edit and you click file transform, but shortcut has made life easier. You don't have to be coming down to this whole place every time you want to transform. You can always press Ctrl T on your keyboard, Ctrl T on your keyboard or your Command T, Ctrl T on your keyboard or your Command T. Then you can easily bring out this. To transform your shape to anything you want. Then once you right click, there are so many transform tools you can use here. So I can use this one to scale up or down. But if you notice something while scaling this up and down, you notice that the aspect ratio is being distorted. Why? The aspect ratio is being distorted. Why? Because the way it's made is, this one is just to increase it in any form you want it. But if I want the aspect ratio to be low, it's either I press shift on my keyboard. Let me do it again. So Ctrl T, and I'm holding shift on my keyboard now. You will notice the difference. So now I'm not holding shift. You see, I can easily extend it and distort the font as the case may be. But once I hold my shift, you notice that the font is maintained. If that's allowed, is maintained. I can easily drag in and out. So this will come very handy when you are doing a whole lot. I see a lot of designs where people just walk around and distort the shape of the font. I mean, anybody that create the font, seeing that will never be happy. A font creator always cry when you do this. When you just make it like this. Then another thing is, if you look at this menu bar at the top, I mentioned something yesterday that this shape always change. I said shape, the menu, the properties we have up here always change. Then in between your width and your height, you will see something like a chain. Please, can we zoom in to Photoshop so we can see where my mouse is? You see where my mouse is like a chain, and underneath it you will see something like maintain aspect ratio. Let me try and do that again. you will see maintain aspect ratio. So I believe you could see it now. Maintain aspect ratio. Once you click this, what you are saying is you are locking both your width and your height, so your scaling will be proportionate. So if I, without holding shift now, if I click and drag this, you notice that it's giving us the same behavior as though we are holding shift. Now this is the shortcut to this. Now if I hold shift now, it temporarily unlock that chain. I don't know if anybody get that. If I hold shift, if I hold shift, it temporarily unlock the maintain aspect ratio button. I will click up there too. Basically, I just need to explain that because the way this thing behaves in Photoshop versions is different. The way it behaves in Photoshop versions is different. It's quite different. So that's that about that. If you want to scale up and down, either you want to maintain your aspect ratio or not. So continuing with our scaling options, once I press Ctrl T again, you see rotate. You can easily, once you click rotate and you come to the edge, you can rotate to any degree you want. So for example, I'm doing this design and okay, I need to rotate everything together. Remember how we select on our layers? Please, we can zoom in back. So once I press Ctrl T, I can easily come, then shall you see, rotate. But once I'm rotating, if you look at this upper part, you notice that this number here is changing. 2.89, 2. So it depends on our rotation. So this is always good to take note of your angle of rotation. In case you want to be doing a design that requires a lot of rotation, then you need everything to be rotated at the same degree. So this thing is very, very handy. Instead of just using your height to gauge, okay, they are the same now. So I can easily come here and do minus 7.5. Then I'm good to go. So if I need to type any other thing, (2022) online free class. So I want to rotate this one to make sure, okay, night light. I'm not sure night light is on. Is it better? Okay. So it's for the eye. For some of us that are not using glasses already, so please, I'm sorry for that. So 2022 online free class. Let me just leave it like this. Then I want to rotate it to fit this small space between here. So Ctrl T. If you can remember what we used to rotate here before, so I can have minus 7.5. Then it fits perfectly without second guessing whether it is there or not. So you can easily have this on the side. So basically that's that about that. That's if you want to rotate anything, then Ctrl T again, right click. Then if I want to skew, now you notice that some of them are grayed out. Why? Because we are dealing with a text. So there are some things we want to do that won't be available for a text. So I taught us how to draw shape yesterday. So let's draw a shape. Then pressing Ctrl T and right clicking again, then you see that I now have distort and perspective activated. But on normal text, you notice that distort and perspective is not activated. So Ctrl T, right click, perspective, distort. So distort is trying to use it to create a shape of my own on my own. So that's distort. If you want to distort your shape, then perspective, if you want to warp this into perspective, so you see I'm dragging just only one side and is affecting everything, like the other side, like bringing it into perspective. How will we understand this better? Now this design with us is a text. Now I can easily come into this text and make it a smart object. What do I mean by the smart object? I'm making the text not editable. What do I mean by I'm making the text not editable? So there's this thing in Photoshop called smart objects. So this design with us, assuming I notice that okay, I will probably need this in other places, but I need them to be together such that I can reuse it in my design, such that if I want to change it, I'll just change it once and every other places I used it will be corrected or updated. So I can easily select the tool, right click and do convert to smart object. Convert to smart object. Convert to smart object. Then with this now, if I press Ctrl T, you notice that I can easily, then you notice that the way it's bringing out the transform tool is different. Sorry. If you notice the way it's bringing out is different. Okay, the mic. So I can easily right click on this and click perspective. Then I can easily distort this like this. Perspective and distort it further. Then this is not looking good again, but just a little bit of distortion, then it will work for us. It will work for us. So basically that's the work of that. Let me just undo it. Then okay, so I've touched on text shapes, then I'm on the transform tools. So once I come here, Ctrl T, right click, we talk about perspective, then we can talk about warp. So I can easily, warp is just okay, I want to distort these things but not in the straight form, like you want some curves or something. So all these are like anchor points to draw your curve. So anything you want to form with this, you can easily do that. So basically, and there are default warp, there are some preset warp effects. So once you come to the upper part here, you see default. Either you want it grid, like the default warp, you can pick 3 by 3, like the number of lines that this one we have. So this one is default. If I click 3 by 3, so you see there's a 3 by 3 grid put on it, in which if I click any of them, it distorts my shape into anything I probably want it to be. The reason why we are not seeing the effect of the one on the inside is because the shape has the same color, so distorting that will not give us anything. So Ctrl T, warp. Then on the other side you see custom, so you can use arc lower, arc upper. So using this arc, you see something like this, then I can easily reduce the bend, like bring it down till you enter negative. You need it on the negative side. So let me quickly do something. Assuming I have something like this, expand it, Ctrl T, warp. Someone said fish. So I can come here and click arc. So I bring it down. So, and you can do it for even a text. Ctrl T, right click. Okay, individually, not together. Ctrl T, warp. Then once I warp, I come here. So I can easily use this to click and drag. Oh Jesus, what's this? What's going on? Why is it distorting our counting like this? This thing is just meant to bend it to. Nice. Okay, so that's the work of WAP. In case you want to do anything like this, I really don't know, but all these things will come in handy probably later. So we are still on transform, so I think we'll be able to cover everything. In case you want to rotate anything, for example, this design with us, Ctrl T, and want to rotate. Most times you don't need to go inside. If you click like this, it scales, but once you move your mouse out and you notice it changed to an arrow, your mouse pointer changed to like an arrow, a pointer with two arrows like this, which means you can easily rotate and have something like this. So I can scale up and just have it here like this, depending on anything I want to do. There are some designs that are like this, but that's a very bold design. It's not something you do regularly. Why? Because it's like you're telling people to bend their head, obviously, to read anything you type, which is good if it's just only one text. But most times, having double text like this, imagine if it's just design. I have like this, and it's very bold, like this. So automatically, with or without tilting your head or anything, you can easily read what we have here. So basically, that's rotate tools for you. So let me quickly move to the other side of what I want to quickly touch today again, is working with images, doing selections and masking. I use masking a lot when I'm working on Photoshop. I use it a lot because it's one of the tricks you probably won't get in other. What do I mean by masking? I mean layer mask. The layer mask is probably a trick you won't get in other tool, and it makes your edit on any layer a constructive one, not a destructive one. You are not editing directly the layer. Once you remove your layer mask, you can easily retain anything you do on that layer back. So basically, we'll be touching on that. So if I need an image in Photoshop, how do I bring it in? So it's just simple as going to wherever the image is and just dragging it inside your Photoshop. Just dragging it inside your Photoshop. So I can easily drag this image like this, then bam, it is there. So using image in Photoshop is as easy as dragging it from wherever you have it on your system inside Photoshop. Dragging it from wherever you have it in your system inside Photoshop. So we have this image here, so you can easily move it around. Once your image layer is selected, you can always come to your layer panel, select the image, move it around. If you want to scale it up and down, Ctrl T, we scale it up or down, up or down. So we have it like this. So I want to reduce the leading between these and my broken text, so I can easily come to 48. That will be so small. Then let's try 72, and I can easily use my arrow to toggle up or down. So I can easily change my text color by, do you remember this character panel that I was talking about yesterday? On the lower side, you have color, where you are seeing black presently. Once you click on it, you can easily change your color. So once your color dialog is out like this, and you move your mouse outside it, you can easily pick any color in your artboard, wherever it is. So I can easily pick this color, bring this up. So that's how to pick colors. So on this character panel, there are still some other things that I didn't mention yesterday. I remember talking about selecting your font style, the font size, the leading, the spacing in between your character, your text. Now this one is, instead of doing a uniform character spacing, that this one that we get from this -50, I can easily pick one like this and nudge it. Shall you see? Once I increase it, that particular text alone move away from wherever it is. So if I put my cursor in front of X and I keep increasing it, you notice that S alone is moving to the other side. So return it back to 0. So that's the work of that one. Then this one is if you want to distort the height of your text, which I advise you not to touch, only if you want to make it, if you want to create some artistic effect, which you can easily create by pressing Ctrl T. I really don't advise people touching this height and width. Let it always be in 100%. At least the designer will be happy like that. The person that designed the fonts, it's not like he gave us a font and we are using it anyhow. That is not pleasing to the person too. We can easily, so this last one is if you want to shift a text from the normal baseline. I remember when they were talking about typography, they will have touched the baseline, so you can easily shift this up like this. Then we have this like this. There are times you will see a particular design in which the text will be rising as though is increasing. So this is what they use. So if they are not breaking it down, so you see the E rising, then let the S rise above the E like this. Then I can easily come to my G, highlight it and increase it too. So assuming I'm using 20 for this, I can easily come to this next one and press 25. So we know 25 is greater than 20. So if I want to reduce my text, put everything in the center, then okay, I want to create a background, then I can easily come to shape, click and drag. Probably wants to give it a color. Maybe I'm just deciding to stay on just one color. Then okay, probably we have something like this. Okay, so this just we're trying to understand how our text work and how to bring images into Photoshop. So we have this. Then from here I want to talk about, so basically we are done with our character panel, so we can easily move to other things we want to do. So on this image, this is a PNG image which has been selected already. So I'll talk about selection too. So let's probably go to Pixel. We all know where we can get images. Sorry. Pixels. So we have free stock images here. So there are websites you can use to get free images for your design projects, like free stock images, pictures that are good and I mean awesome for your design. So looking through, let me search for, okay, maybe, okay, we can make do with this. Don't mind our network here. So please, in case anything is not clear, please feel free to drop your comments. Okay. Okay. So now I can easily right click and copy image from here and come into my Photoshop. So I can say we are done with this. Let me just group it and hide it somewhere. And I can easily press Ctrl V. So my image is here. So this is the image that I have. I can easily scale it up. Then one thing I do normally to retain quality is once I bring in my image, I convert it to smart objects. Then I can easily increase it. So this helps reduce the quality because every image tends to adapt to the resolution of your artboard. It tends to adapt to the size of where you are working on. It tends to adapt to your artboard size. So on scaling up and down, if you scale down, the pixel, the dot per inch gets crushed. So scaling it up back, then you will not have the same quality of image like the one you brought in the first place. So that's why I always convert it to smart objects, such that it's like we are casing it like, okay, this is an external object that wants you to retain its quality without changing. So any operation we do is like we are doing it on an artificial level, not deeply to the image. So that's a constructive edit, not a destructive one. I hope you get to understand that better as we move on. So we are having this particular image to work with, and all I want to do now is to walk us through selections. So now, for instance, for the design we want to do, we need just only this part where my mouse is. We need just only this part. And how can we do it? Probably in a square. Or so now I want to say something before we continue. There's really no one way to do things in Photoshop. You do it any way that is easy for you. Let me take that again. In Photoshop is like how will I put it to? It's like mathematics. There are several ways to solve one equation, but the one thing that matters is you must get your final answer right, depending on what you desire or what you want to do. So there's really no a rule to what you can use. Do whatever is easy for you. So for this, there are several ways we can do it, but we'll be sticking with just for the purpose of this class and explaining how to do our selection. So in Photoshop, there's the Marquee tools for selection. We have the Lasso tools. Then we have like the AI calculated selection tools, the object selection tool, quick selection tool, and the magic wand tool. We have our cropping. So and all. Then we have pen tool. I'm so sure and certain that pen tool have been touched by people that took Illustrator, Figma, and all. So we might not be going deeply on pen tool, though I will still touch it briefly. So if we are using Marquee tool, if clicking on Marquee tool, you see the rectangular Marquee tool, we have the elliptical Marquee tool. This rectangular Marquee tool, as the word implies, is rectangular. Once you click and drag, you can easily see this. So you see this matching ant box. What it implies is that is the area of your selection. This matching ant is showing the area of your selection. This matching ant is showing the area of your selection. So if I right click and I do layer via copy, we can't see it. Why? Because the new layer that is created is on the same original picture that we have. But if you look at your layer panel, you notice that we are having an extra layer too. So if I hide this I button beside your layer, is for visibility, is to turn on and off your visibility. So if I click this, you see we have what we select, which is just this portion, So that's how to do it. So if I need a square box like this, I can easily have it like this. Then any design I want to do around it, I can easily do it. So that's for. But if I need an ellipse, most times you will see this in probably ID card, event posters, where they use. So once I click ellipse, you notice that this is not giving me proper circle. So based on what we said yesterday, you can easily hold your shift to have this. Then if I hold space bar on my keyboard, I can easily move my selection. Now note something, I have not dropped my selection. It's not like I've dropped what I drew the other time. Like I'm still making my selection. I just hold space bar, releasing it, I can continue drawing. Holding space bar, I can move my selection around. Releasing it, I can continue drawing. All while I'm holding space bar drawing, my mouse is still clicked down as though I'm drawing. I hope you get what I'm saying. My mouse is still clicked down as though I'm drawing. So I can easily move it around, move my selection around. Dropping it again, I can reduce it back like this. So still holding shift. If I take my hand off shift, you notice that our shape is distorted. Holding shift back, then I have this. I can easily move it down back, do this. So I can do right click, layer via copy, then bring this here and probably enlarge it. I'm trying to do something. Let me see if I can get it. So I don't want to touch some things we've not touched yet. So I'm drawing another shape. Ctrl T, then bringing it up like this, then dropping it underneath this place. Then I can come to line tool and click and drag something like this. line to double click the layer beside and change it to white. So I can easily draw another shape like this. So I hope we get what I'm trying to do here. It's just like we are trying to zoom in to that particular portion so people will know that, okay, this is what is going on here. So basically, that's just showing the use case for that particular thing. So we can easily use the rectangular marquee tool to crop out a particular portion of our image. So that's another selection tool. So going forward, then this single row, what single row does is, once you click, it select a single row in your image. So let me show us how we can use that one practically. So okay, so I have this beautiful image of, well, beautiful, yeah. So for this one, I'll be using single column marquee tool. So let me click once. So I click in the middle section once and I right click and I do layer via copy. So you might be wondering what it is that we want to do. So holding shift, I know so many people will have seen this stretch effect somewhere before. It is not hard. You notice what I did? I just clicked the singular marquee tool and I stretched it out. So basically, that's that. So this can easily serve as anything you want to do. So I can easily scale this out like this. I type beauty there. Let me change the font to a serif font, Bodoni. So we can easily have it this way. So remember yesterday, Ctrl J to duplicate your text. So this is just trying to do a lot of things with it. So I can come here on my stretched layer, Ctrl T, right click, warp. So I can warp it like this. I don't want our body to show there. That might spoil things. So anything you want to do, warp it, do anything with it, all sorts, then you will get to do a lot of things. So that's just one basic application of how to use that. The same thing for your singular row tool. So what it's doing is it's just picking a singular portion of your design, right click, what do I do? Layer via copy, press Ctrl T, then you have this like this, and I can easily do this. So this is not looking well, depending on anything you want to do at any time. There is really no bad design like that. It depends on your application, any way you want to use it. So you can easily get things out of anything you want to do. So from here, we've talked about all the marquee tools that we have. Then we can easily move to our lasso tool. Lasso tool is more or less like, how will I put it? It's like drawing straight line around any object to form anything you want to form. They always say a straight line is a curve of is a circle with infinite radius. That is, the radius is so large that the curve is not so curved again, that is now standing on it is like a straight line now to us. That might not be necessary. What I'm just trying to say is you can use Marquee tool to select anything, in as much as you go in as deep as anything and you are as patient as anything when you are selecting it. It can be very, very frustrating. So anytime I'm trying to teach anybody design, one thing I make sure that we don't skip is our selection process. That thing is as key as anything. That thing is as key as anything. I won't go through everything. I just want to show you that you can easily do your selection. Don't mind me that I didn't. Okay, let me. Okay, convert to smart object. Control T. Well, good luck to people that use mouse. Oh, I mean, I really don't know how they cope using mouse. But all thanks to God. So once you come to your lasso tool, the first one is lasso tool. This one is like you are just selecting and just drawing. Now this thing that I'm doing, I'm not releasing my mouse from the time I click the very first time. Now this is like a gamble. You notice that it's not even smooth. It's like it's not like it's gamble safe. If I'm not using, most times where this is very very applicable is when you are using what's it called? Is when you are using your graphic graphic tablets. Mine is not here. When you are using graphic tablets, this is way easier to do. This is way easier to do by just selecting around what you want to select. But it's not something as complex as this that you'll now be going around the whole thing. So you notice that this selection, you cannot do this for any client work and they will come back and pray for you. When you send this to them, just be expecting so many feedback. Share you see our selection. Beautiful. Awesome. So that's how to use that one. It's just click and you continue drawing as you go, so it gets better when you use it. But this polygonal lasso tool is like continuation of different lines. One thing I always advise when you want to do your selection, go in as much as you can, but as much as you can see your edges clearly, but the level of details depends on where they want to use it. For example, most of the times when we are designing and you notice that this design will be going on a very large billboard, I see that mistake times without number on very big billboard. Things you know that they can easily get away with if the design is just for a screen design. Now if you are following me, what I'm doing is just I'm clicking on the edges, following the edges judiciously. So back to my story, you will see some very big banner and you will look at the selection and that's the only thing that you'll be calling your attention, not even the main content of the design of the billboard. You just be noticing the small white stuff on the head of you just be noticing a small white stuff on the head of probably the guest or anybody in the poster, and to be creating a lot of distraction. I mean, please do the hard work of making sure you do your selection right. Now Photoshop is making things easier for us as day goes by, but if you know that okay, this design you are doing is not something that will be used on a small scale, it's something that will be used on very big billboard and all, please don't gamble it. Just do the hard work, go through it and do your selection normally. Please I'm begging. Please I know very soon we will be in the mainstream. Some of us are even in the mainstream and we are doing great and beautiful things. I mean, awesome. Anytime I scroll through my Instagram feed and you see people's work, at some point you have to tell yourself that I'm doing the right thing with my life like this. But I mean, people are doing awesome stuff, but on this selection thing, please let's just pay more attention. It's very very needed and key. So I might not be able to go through the whole of this in this class, but let me just quickly do this. So you see that this one is is game of the patient. And the funniest thing is, if I mistakenly click out like this, all my everything I've done is gone. Okay, about the mouse stuff I was saying the other time, please you can use mouse, but mouse is for the weak people, I guess. The weak use mouse. I mean, what's your trackpad doing if you can if you can They're like, I'm looking for war. Okay, so I might just have to, please, the thing is, always try and do this thing, practice over and over, over and over, over and over. I know there are times that the design is always urgent, that you just need to deliver, but please, still take time. And any work you push out is your identity, whether you like it or not. Please, just take time. Most times when you do work, that particular design is a singular portfolio that probably your client will see. So let me just break it here, so not to take our time. Then we have this. So once I right click and do layer via copy, God forbid, what's this? It's like we went in too much and we're not able to see the edges clearly. But I mean, it happened. So okay. My selection is on another layer. And be careful too. Your layer via copy. Here you see. She, I was scared before that. God, what's this? Even if you notice this one, you notice that I didn't go in so much as deep as I meant to do. So once you zoom in like this, you can still see all those black edges. I'm still not safe like this. So because I was rushing, so basically take your time to do this. It's very helpful. Don't stay on the outside, stay on the inside when you are doing your selection. So you will get to see things in black and white and clearly. So if I do solid color, okay, I've not mentioned anything about solid color before, and I have my picture like this. I can easily create a shape here. Ctrl J, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, convert to smart object. Don't mind me, just trying to create something like, okay, well, maybe the person is pointing at something, and you remember all these things now that they will put like butterfly on top of the hand. So basically this, just don't mind me. So we could see where our selection come into play. So some of the things I did here, I know I've not touched it, so there's no need to panic. Let's just wait. Everything will be clear as time goes on. So we've talked about polygonal lasso tool, and we have the magnetic lasso tool. This one is should I say it's furniture, but let's look at it together. So how does it work? And if you notice something I did is a trick. I noticed that background that my selection is having some black edges around it, so it's just smart for me to just use a black background underneath it. So those unclean edges will definitely sync with it. And if you notice the original image too, the background is kind of dark, so using anything black underneath it will make it sit well, as though it's in its natural habitat. So how does magnetic lasso tool work? Magnetic lasso tool work in such a way that once there's a good contrast between your image and the background, it automatically calculates that, okay, this should be the edge of the image. So let's look at it together. So if I click like this, once I click once, I just need to be following the path. So this thing will be doing the selection itself. Share you see. So now this place is a bit inside. Once I press delete key, I can easily come back and slowly moving around things. Please, if you are still following me, let me see your comments in the comment section. And the class is not boring and I've not lost you. Like maybe I'm too fast or I'm too slow, or Just type something so I will know how many of us are still with me. Why is he hanging like that? Okay, so this can come in handy at times, but this is not reliable every time. Oladipupo, please, mouse user, don't be offended though. At least we are all together in this game, and we are not having association anytime soon that will say, okay, we are discriminating mouse users. So don't mind me. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Some messages have to be passed across. They will say people using trackpad are cultists. I don't know where they get that from, but I mean, just don't mind me. Just don't mind me too. Please, mouse users, I'm begging you. So we are done with this layer via copy. So easily we get that. Okay, sorry. I selected something else. My layer was on another thing. Yeah, it's still the same method to remove image from the background. So it's still the same method. It's still the same method. I think this is where the superpower of Photoshop lies. The ability to remove image seamlessly and really clean is one of the beauty of Photoshop. So this is this one again. You notice? Oh boy. Okay, so we can still manage that in as much as we are not using it on white background. Anything white background like this, our secret in the open. So let me come back to this one. You see, this one are ways of Photoshop making life easier for us. This particular object selection tool with shortcut W, Polygonal Lasso tool. Once you press L and you press Shift L, it toggles between. Anytime you hold Shift and you press any shortcut, it cycles through the options you have under that place and it keeps changing it. So if I come here, select my move to, and I'm here, L, you notice that it's on magnetic lasso tool. If I press Shift L, is on the lasso tool. If I press Shift L again, is on the polygonal lasso tool. So let me press W to do our object selection tool. How does this object selection tool works? This object selection tool might not be available on some older versions of Photoshop, but anything from 2020, 2019, I believe you should have it. So, because I'm presently using 2020 Adobe CC, so, and I will advise you get it on your own laptop too if you are following this class, so it makes things seamless for us. So once you click and drag, 15 minutes more, Jesus, we will not spend 3 class. So once you click and drag and you wait, you notice Photoshop starts calculating, so automatically did the selection itself. So most times this kind of selection, let me zoom in and let me show you something, a little bit secret. If you notice this part is not selected, if you notice this part, so it's not selected. So if I just do right click and do layer via copy, do you notice something? Do you notice that this place that wasn't selected all that time has been chopped off? So let me put it on a black background. Sure, you notice it has been chopped off. Faithful God. So most times after doing all these automatic calculations, you still need to come inside and probably with your polygonal lasso tool. Now, if you notice this place at the top here, there's the first one is, you notice like 2 shapes are overlapping. I believe they should have talked about Paint Finder in Illustrator, but in case they don't, this one is like combining 2 shapes together. This one is like, okay, any selection I do now, remove it from the one that, you see, subtract from selection. Okay, so they are okay. Please, if you can help me zoom in to this top part, thank you. Anything they do is like anything I select now, subtract it from my initial selection And this last one is talking about the fact that intersection of our selection intersects with selection, that any point in which my present selection and the original selection is intersecting is where I want to remain. But for this case, we want to add to our initial selection. So once I click this first one, I can easily come here and do this. Here you see, I've been able to add that extra region. The same thing applies here. Once I click like this, and I'm able to follow through, staying inside. If I don't stay inside and I move outside like this, like to the edge, there's every tendency I select black with it. So let me just stay inside, stay inside, stay inside, stay inside, and I come back to where I start originally, or I double click. You notice that that selection seems perfect now, because I'm able to, with the automatic selection that Photoshop has done for me, I'm able to select that particular portion out. So that's how that one is done. So for example, now notice this particular black hole that is here. I don't want to add it to original selection. It's more or less like I want to remove this particular portion away. So what do? I come to this top part. Please, can we scroll to the top part where my mouse is? Just move up. Okay. You can just reset. You can just reset back. Thank you, sir. Okay. It's not resetting. Okay, yeah, thank you. So I'll just click on this other one which I was talking about the other time. The first one is when I want to add selection. The second one is if I want to subtract selection. So once I click it, I can easily come inside this place and click and drag like this, because this particular portion is part of our selection. And once I do that, I'm able to cut it out. The same thing applies for this particular portion. Don't mind me, we are spending so much time on how to do all this selection, because majorly in design, once you get a good image to communicate, which might not be just only one image, there will be time you might need to superimpose images together. So this selection is like the art of you moving around and doing your super and cool things in Photoshop. So basically, and if you notice, this particular inside section too is not meant to be selected like this. And there's another trick. Once you hold Alt, so if you are previously on add, if you notice my mouse presently, there's a particular minus button on it. It's showing us that, okay, these are our selection we eventually cut away from what we are doing. So, and we have this. So this is a bit better than what was originally given to us by Photoshop. Then that's where we overlap. So I can easily do right click and do layer via copy. So all these my edits, they are still destructive edits. You know, I mentioned it earlier when we started that, okay, there's destructive and constructive edits. All these are destructive, because after doing this, I cannot go back to the original image, which might be limiting at times. After doing this, I cannot go back to the original image. So I've been able to touch on all the lasso tool. So we talk about object selection tool. The quick selection tool is, okay, we say we are telling Photoshop that, okay, we know you can calculate the edges, but let me guide you instead of you doing it yourself. So once you do quick selection tool, so you notice that this circle that is holding plus is small. And if you come to the edge here, you know I told you that this thing will keep changing depending on any tool we are using. So this first one is talking about, okay, selection. This one is, okay, we have a selection that we've done already. Now we want to add. Now this one is saying that, okay, there's a selection that's been done already, but we want to remove from it. That's why we have minus here. Then you see this 9 is talking about increasing the size. So I can increase the size and come to 184. And you notice that the size I'm having now is so big. Let me go to plus. I can come here and reduce it to probably 85, depending on how I need it. So now there's a shortcut for increasing and reducing this. You can use the curly braces on your laptop. That place that has curly braces, that thing that they use to represent sets for science students, like, okay, the set of object and everything, that curly braces on your laptop, you should get it right beside P. So you should get it. So once you click it, it reduces or increases depending on which one you are clicking. So I can easily click and drag. Here you see, once I'm clicking, it's doing the selection for me, but I'm the one guiding it. So They have selected everything, but inside this place is not meant to be selected. So let me click this negative one and click this place. Share you see. Instead of moving your mouse there, you can easily press Alt on your keyboard. Alt or Option. Let me hold Alt. You notice it's on plus presently. Then if I hold Alt, it takes out of it. So all these makes things easy and help us adjust things as time goes by. So that's that. Then we have the magic wand too. Magic wand to work well. You remember all those free pick images? There's another free site where you can get free images, free pick. If you come to free pick, and you do images and you say smile, you can easily filter things here. And if you are not okay, so for example, an image like this, download, and you can easily copy directly from here. So it's copying now. So copy image successfully. So you can go into your Photoshop and paste it. So you see how big this image is. Sweet. So this is the kind of things we are talking about. So probably I want to use this for my design, and this is happiness, pure one. And okay, you notice that the color is uniform. So I'm just trying to say that this is an example of an instance of where the magic wand tool works very well. Magic wand tool works based on color calculations. It looks at your background and the foreground and the background and the present color you are clicking, and it tries to sample everything around that color that is interacting with that point. What do I mean with all those English? Let me try and do it. So once I click magic wand tool and I click, you see, sweet. You see, though there is a trick to make all these here smooth out, share you see now, but to a reasonable extent, this has done an almost perfect job for us of selecting out that yellow background. Then okay, if you now want to treat the hair, how do I do it? Let me click select and mask. Then we are seeing this. So we can anyhow we want to see it. Share you see. Now, you know we clicked on the yellow one and it's selecting that one, but that's not what we want. So how can we revert that? We can easily click invert here. Share you see, clean. So we are seeing the guy that we actually wants to edit. But if you notice the hair, obviously we cannot do this because the hair is tinted with our background, and there's no crime in doing that. How do we do that? Come to this particular side, you will see refine edge brush. Once you click it, zoom in as much as you can. Then make sure your plus is starting on the color you want to remove. Make sure your plus is starting on that particular color we want to remove. Then once I click like this, I can easily move through like this. Now, to a reasonable extent, it has removed the orange, but we are still seeing a tint of it. Then let me go to decontaminate color. Then I think that works well. So once you decontaminate the color, it means that okay, every background color that is not close to what we want, then decontaminate it from what we have. So we can easily have it. And once I press OK, so here you can do every other thing. You can shift the edge. You can make your selection smoother. You can smooth. Just when you are done, play with things around here. Then this like you are adjusting your selection to make it more pixel perfect. Then I can click OK. So you see we have our image. Then okay, probably I can do so let me just draw a shape instead of doing select color. You see. So which font should we use? Our national anthem, Canton. You can vary the weight. I mean, a lot of things you can do. You can reduce the font size. So there's a trick to design actually. Just make sure your color doesn't go too far from the normal colors you have on your image. In case you are someone like me that kind of have issues with color, and that anytime you are designing you are always wondering, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Just make sure you stay on any image. You see, most times image are like how would I put it? They are like, okay, pointers to how your design will work. So I want to duplicate my pure joy to create like a false shadow underneath it. Then I click my color, click color, then go a bit darker on it, then bring it under the pure joy. Shall you see? So you create false shadow underneath like that. So sorry, I'm being distracted. This is not what we are here for. Let's just continue and be doing our selection. So coming back, we've talked about all our basic thing. We talk about the AI assisted selection. We have the magic wand tool, we have the quick selection tool, we have the magic wand tool. So basically that's that about that. Then another advanced one is when you are using your pen tool for selection. And there's another major one. Once you bring in the image from anywhere you are bringing it from, let me do Ctrl V, then we have this one again. See how vibrant this color is. As in this design, this image will do wonders. Once you come to any of your selection tool, I have 5 minutes. Wow. Okay. So once I come to any of the selection tool, right up here you will see it sitting. You will see select and mask. Once you click it, no, oh, that's not what I want. You will see select subject for anybody using Photoshop CC 2020 and above. Like anytime you come to any of these AI assisted, like pressing W or anything on your keyboard, then you see select subject. Once you click it, then Photoshop will sit and calculate, then do the normal thing that we do when we click select subject. So basically, I think that's that about selection. But before I go today, there's something very important I want to talk about, which is what happened when we do select and mask. If you notice on this side of the layer, I don't know if they can help me zoom into it, then our layer is kind of growing and becoming a bit more complex. Then there's a whole lot of things we do with this Photoshop layer panel, this layer side, sir. So if you notice on layer 9, there's a particular black portion, and there's the image itself, and there's our hide tool. We are not staying here till 8 p.m. People have things to do. I think it's almost time for iftar for people that are fasting. You just have to be fast. So once I'm done with this one, we'll probably continue in our next class, because I mean there's really nothing you want to do in Photoshop. If you have the idea and you don't know how to use the tool, you just be frustrated. So it's good you know how to use this thing, and with this we can show ourselves practical ways of making things better in our design. For people that are good already, and for beginners, you can know how to do things and how not to do things wrongly. So if you notice this place, there's the image itself is sitting there. Then we have this layer mask thumbnail. Then we have this eye, this thing. So I will try and explain what this means. If you notice on this particular last part, we are having a black and white portion. Let me hide this one. Then this is our image. If I right click on this one, and I do disable layer mask, you notice that we have our original image back. And this is what I was talking about when I say our edit is not destructive. This is a constructive edit, whereas you can do your edit. If you make mistake, you can easily come back and see your original image sitting right there with no distortion. So I've disabled my layer mask. I can right click and enable it back. So we have it like this. So what does this thing mean? So let me quickly denote it with, okay, probably I have this image. Okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? I want something to interact with this image. So let me bring this joy down. Let me delete joy. Let me type O alone. Let me clear this PL joy. I know you must have seen something like this somewhere. Now, this one is not working. Let me create normal O like this. Reduce the fill and add stroke to it. Then increase the stroke very well, like this. So what do I want? I want it such that the bottom part of the circle is covering the head, while the head is still showing on this part. What do I mean? Like this circle will come on the shirt, but the head will still be on the circle. So if I bring it on top, you notice what is happening. The circle is on the image, but the head is under the circle, but that's not what we want. So let me do convert to smart object for our image. Then what do I want to do? I want to mask this particular image to that circle. Now if I had layer mask, if you come to your panel on this, the bottom panel here, you will see something that is looking like a camera, like a circle sitting inside a box. Once you click it, it adds layer mask to any layer you have. It adds layer mask to any layer you have. So once I click the layer mask, it's pure white. Now the white means we can see everything on it. Anytime I introduce black to it, black hides and white reveals. If you don't take anything away from that class, from this class, always note black hides and white reveals. Black hides and white reveals. So which means everywhere there is white on this particular canvas is showing that that place will see what is there in the original layer, which is this image beside it. But if it's black, now I know I've not taught us brush, but let's just quickly use it. Once you click your brush, you remember the curly braces thing I told you about the other time is to increase anything brush. So I've used it to increase this. Then if I paint like this, you notice that we can't see the bottom part of the image again. Why? Because we've painted it out and it's black here. You notice everywhere that is black here is hidden on our original image that we can see. So basically that's that about that. Let me delete layer. So let me come to my Photoshop and to my image and add layer mask back, and let me right click and increase the hardness of the brush. Next time I will make sure that I start with brush and how to use it. So now if you notice, anytime you click on your layer mask, the color here automatically becomes black and white, because it's either we hide or review. That's what we do here. So I want to review now. You notice that the foreground color is white, and I can easily come here, making my brush the radius of the inner circle, and I can click. Do you notice? And this is what we want to achieve. This is what we want. This is the reason why we go through this trouble. In case this is not clear, I'll be picking up from this place the next time we are having class. Thank you very much for staying tuned today. Really appreciate it. Kindly like and subscribe anytime you are coming around to watch this video, in case you didn't join the class live with us. And if there's any question, we'll be available on Discord to take note of it and probably trash it out in our next class. Thanks so much for your time today, which I really appreciate. I don't take it for granted. And the extended time, I'm really sorry about that. I will try to keep to time the next class. Thanks so much. We'll be seeing in the next class, and I hope you will enjoy it even much more than today. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.